Hi, Tom Ziglar here, CEO of Ziglar Inc. I'm so excited that you've joined us for this Ziglar Leadership Formula webcast. I'm going to be going fast today. I've got a lot of material to cover. I just appreciate you joining us, no matter where you are in the world, whether you're overseas or in the U.S. Thank you for spending your time with us, investing your time with us. We want to talk to you about leadership, about how you can develop yourself as a leader and how you can have influence and impact on those around you through effective leadership. Now, this webcast is free and it's fun, and we're going to be sending you a replay when you're done. So if you missed something in it, that's okay. You'll be getting the replay. And also want to let you know that in the viewing room that you're on right now, we're going to have Q&A at the end. So at the very end, we have some Q&A time. And if you have questions that you want to send in the top right-hand corner there, you just put your email address in, and then you put your question and you send it off. And then Jill Tibbles, who's in Austin, she kind of handles all that. And I'm going to take some questions at the very end. Hopefully you guys will ask questions that I'm capable of answering. If not, like I tell people, I'll just make up the answers. No, I'm just kidding. We'll share some insights and things off of the questions there. And if you're here and you want to join the chat room, you can do that as well. It's simple to join the chat room. Just click and you can join. All that we ask is that the chat room chatter be on point, uplifting, motivational content around leadership, supporting the webcast and the other viewers in there. Just keep it on target and on point. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I want to show you just a few things. This Ziglar Leadership Success program that we have, we actually are taking the material today from 3 or 4 courses that we have. The first one is we have a half-day program that we do here and in our offices, and then that is taken through 2 leadership courses that we go into companies and teach. One of them is called Top Performance, How to Develop Excellence in Yourself and Others. This is a tactical foundational leadership program. The second one is called Significance Through Dynamic Leadership. These are 2 leadership courses that we have that we take into organizations around. So if you like what you hear today and you want more depth and impact and insight, then we have those available for you as well. The other thing that I want to point out is that if you are a leader who likes to communicate, who likes to teach, who likes to go out and show others this content, we do have a program called Ziglar Legacy Certification where we equip you to go and teach these courses. Okay, let's get right into the Ziglar Leadership Formula. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use an old technique. It's a great strategy that all leaders should employ, and that is this, is that when there's something important you want to say, you tell people you're going to say it, and then you say it, and then you remind people at the end what you just said. So what I'm going to do is cover this 4-step Ziglar formula on leadership. I want to give you the brief overview, then we're going to go through it, then we'll review it at the end, and then after that we'll take all the questions. So as you look at this, there's 4 things in this cycle. There's input, influence, dream, and performance. So if you're going to be a successful leader, you've got to have the right kind of input into your life. You see, you've got to demonstrate the right kind of qualities before you can lead others. See, they're going to have to want to follow you. The next piece of that is influence. You see, once you're the right kind of person, you're getting the right kind of influence, you're walking, or your input, you're walking in the right step, then you're going to want to influence others. So it goes input, influence. The third piece of this is dream. You see, when you're influencing people in the right way, one of the keys to that, the way that great leaders get their people excited, is a great leader will understand the dreams of their people and will actually help their people achieve their dreams in the process of working in the organization, on working things as a team. You see, if I can go to work working for a dream instead of a paycheck, everything changes. And then the last piece of this is performance. You see, if I get the right input, I'm having the right influence on others, I'm working for a dream instead of a paycheck, then it just really boils down to how hard and how effective I work. So the performance formula that we're going to talk about at the end covers that. Okay, so let's start with input. Here's the key with input. You get to choose how effective you are as a leader. Think about that. You get to choose how effective you are as a leader. What do I mean by that? You can decide to just go through life and let things happen to you, or you can make a conscious decision to go out and get the right input. What do I know? What do I mean by that? You choose the right input. That's how you get to choose how effective you are as a leader. Are you reading and listening to the greatest leaders of the day? When people on your team come to you with ideas and information, are you listening to them through the lens of a leader? Either you have the answer already, or maybe they're asking questions of you that you don't know the answer. You see, those are the most valuable questions of all, because when you take that information down and that question is just burning in your mind, what's the answer? What's the answer? When you choose to make the decision, when you choose to go out and get the right input that's going to help you answer that question, you are choosing to be an effective leader. Why do we say this? Well, it's based on Dad's legendary quote, "You are what you are and where you are because of what has gone into your mind." You can change what you are, and you can change where you are by changing what goes into your mind. It's simple. We are the sum total of everything that we've absorbed in our life. The people who poured into us, our parents, our teachers, our coaches, our co-workers, our friends, all these inputs that come in, what we listen to on the radio, what we watch on TV, the books that we read, all those things make up who we are today. So in your leadership journey, if you're thinking, you know what, I've got room for growth, which we all do, that's great news, because you can change the input. You can start eliminating things that aren't so good, and you can start adding things in that'll help you go to the next level. I took this concept and I took it a little bit further, but I shortened it and I made my own quote. My quote goes like this: "What you feed your mind determines your appetite." What you feed your mind determines your appetite. Pretty basic, pretty simple. What do I mean by this? If you have a goal in mind, I want to be the best leader I can be. I want to live my life and walk the talk. I want people to want to follow me, to take my direction. I want these things. Then what I feed my mind is going to determine my appetite. So if you decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to read 20 minutes a day on leadership. I'm going to listen to leadership information via podcasts, via books on audio cassette programs. I'm going to go to seminars and events. I'm going to go get a coach, whatever that is. Once you start inputting that into your life, oh my goodness, it changes everything, because you see your mindset is, I want more of that. So I'm speaking in Atlanta a few years ago, and I put this quote up on the board, and this lady at the back of the room, she goes, "Tom, that's just like NASCAR." I couldn't believe it. I was thinking to myself, what do you mean what you feed your mind determines your appetite? It's just like NASCAR. Here's what she said. I said, "Ma'am, you're going to have to stand up and explain, because I want to know how that quote is like NASCAR." And she said this. She said, "It's real simple. When you're going around a track at 185, 190 miles an hour, you're going so fast. I mean, your eyes have to be focused where you want the car to go. So when you're going around the curve, you have to be looking around the curve where you want the car to go. At that speed, literally, if you look at the wall, you're going to hit the wall." You see there? We go through life, and this is what most of us do. We say, don't eat that, don't do that, don't say that. And what do? We eat that, we do that, and we say that, right? Instead, we need to tell our mind, this is what I am going to do. I'm going to set aside 30 minutes a day to develop my leadership skills. I'm going to associate with the right kind of people. I'm going to go and get a program that's going to help me as an individual adapt to my own style the most effective leadership principles that I can apply in my own way, because we're all different. That's what these quotes mean. So what does this say? When you choose the input, that develops you into someone people want to follow and take direction from. See, I want to follow and I want to take direction from. Effective leaders have effective followers. An effective follower knows what the vision is, what the goal is, what they're trying to achieve, because the leader has communicated that. When you're the right kind of person, the right kind of leader, they want to take direction from you because you're living by example and you're giving them a vision to follow. So what does this mean? Why do you want to do this? It's real simple. Effective leaders have more fun and make more money. Come on now. Do you need any more motivation than that? Having fun and making money in the process? You see, the reality is every organization, everywhere in the world you go, they are desperate for effective leaders. When you understand how you can be an effective leader, you can have fun. Why do you have fun? Because when people get on the same page, when they see their lives growing to the next level because of you, they get excited. Don't you want to have more fun? Don't you want to be an effective leader? Absolutely. So what's the next step? We're going to move over to influence. Now think about this. You've already had the right input. You're becoming the right kind of person. You're listening and reading and associating with people who already have leadership skills. So now you've got a group of people that you want to go and influence, right? Because unless you can influence someone, nothing's really going to happen yet. So how do we influence other people? Well, my father, Zig Ziglar, had a secret formula he used to influence others to take action. And I want to share this formula with you. It starts with hope. Let me explain what this means. You see, every time Dad would go out and speak on stage, he had this formula. Now, the reason we call it his secret influence formula is real simple. I believe Dad didn't even know he was following this formula, because I studied him for many years and trying to figure out how could Zig Ziglar, this motivational icon, this person who influenced more people from the stage than maybe anybody else in history, how could Zig Ziglar get so many people not only motivated and inspired, but how could he get them to take action so that they got results in their life? Isn't that leadership? Getting someone else to take action so that they get the results that they want? Isn't leadership an influence of getting people to take action? So I tried to figure it out. Dad, I was studying. I was like, what do you do? Well, here are the 5 steps in the formula. The first one is hope. When he would go on stage, he would ask a real simple question. He would say this to the audience: how many of you here today believe there's something you can do in your personal life, your family life, your business life, or your spiritual life in the next week that would make things worse? And of course the crowd would chuckle, And then he would ask the question a little different. He'd say, how many of you here today believe there's something you can do in your personal life, your family life, your business life, or your spiritual life that'll make things better? Can I see your hands? And of course, everybody raises their hand again. You see, in their own minds, Dad would say this. He would say, without even realizing it, you have made a decision in your own mind that you have the power to make things better or worse, and the choice is yours. How simple is that? You see, when you ask the question, can you make things worse? Everybody's going to say, yeah, I could cut my finger off. Can I make things better? No matter what situation you're in, yes, there's something you can do to make things better. You could take a walk. You could have a glass of water. As simple as that, it's going to make things better. So what happens when you give hope? You see, a hopeless person will not take action, because after all, what's the point? But when I have hope, action follows. So this is the leadership secret. You've got to instill hope in the people around you. You've got to paint a vision. You've got to empower them, to tell them that every day they come in and work on whatever the project or the dream or the goal is that they're involved with your team, that there is hope out there. There is something they can do positive that'll make things better. Yeah, they could get there a little early. They could stay there a little late. They could get the project done a little bit faster, a little bit better. They could do that extra mile. They could make that one additional phone call. See what I'm saying? When people understand that they have the power to make things better, they take action because hope is born. The second thing that I want to talk about in this formula, the secret leadership, or not the secret leadership formula, but the influence formula, is identity. You see, your identity is probably the most powerful thing you have going for you. And I think this was what Dad had, that this was the missing ingredient of this influence formula that I couldn't figure out. Dad, whenever he went on stage, he would tell his story, and I want you to follow along. Imagine, maybe you had the privilege of hearing him speak. Imagine going to hear Zig Ziglar speak 10, 15 years ago. 20,000 people in the room. You're walking in, and in your mind, this recording's going on in your mind. Wow, there's a lot of people here. Oh my goodness, Zig Ziglar is amazing. I mean, he's captivating, he's enthusiastic, he's smart, he's funny. He's probably the best motivational speaker I've ever seen. Golly, look at him. He's well off. I mean, he's successful. He hangs out with the cool people. I mean, he's on the stage with presidents and movie stars and titans of industry. And there's a little voice in the back of your head that says, oh, I could never be Zig Ziglar. And then he tells you his story. And he says, I was born in L.A., Lower Alabama, moved to Yazoo City, Mississippi. And when I was 5, my father died. You see, Zig Ziglar was raised by a single mom with a 5th grade education in the heart of the Great Depression. When his father died, there were 5 brothers and sisters too young to work. Dad actually had to start working when he was 6 years old selling peanuts on the corner. And then the story continues. He says, I never did well in school. He was in the part of the class that made the top half possible. He got out of high school, didn't do well. He went into the Navy right at the tail end of World War II. And in the program he was in, he was able to get a little bit of college. But guess what? He didn't do well in college either. In fact, again, he was in the part of the class that made the top half possible. He got out of that and left and didn't finish college. He got married to my mom, and he's got his first sales job. And for 2.5 years, he didn't sell anything. Well, he did. He sold his car. He sold his furniture. You get the picture. And then somebody came into him and said, you know, Zig, P.C. Merrill said this. He said, Zig, at a sales meeting that he went to, and his icon, his mentor was there. And P.C. Merrill came to him at the end of this 2.5 years and said, Zig, and put his hand on his shoulders, and he said, Zig, in all my life, I've never seen such a waste. But if you believed in yourself, you could be a champion. Oh my goodness, changed Dad's life. The person he trusted and had faith in said he could be a champion. So that was the day that he went to work figuring out what it meant to believe in himself. He started going to work every day at 9 a.m., knocking on doors and figuring out about motivation and self-image and attitude. That year, he finished number 2 out of 7,000 salespeople, when in the previous 2.5 years, he'd never been in the top 5,000. You see, Zig Ziglar was not an overnight success. And so if you're in that room and you're hearing that story, this is what's happening to you. In your mind, you're like, wow, Zig kind of had it hard. That was a rough start. I mean, heart of the Great Depression, raised by a single mother with a 5th grade education, didn't do well in school. You know what? Maybe if Zig can, I can. I tell you what, that's the secret right there. As a leader, when you tell your story to your team, to the people who support you and who work for you and with you, when you're vulnerable and you give them the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you say, I've made these mistakes, I had these scars, I've gone bankrupt, I've been fired, I made a bad decision here, whatever your story is, maybe it's a failed relationship or overcoming a huge obstacle, and you tell your team, hey guys, or hey person sitting right there in front of me who's struggling, when you look at me, you may see me in this position and you think I've just got it all together. I don't know what you're going through, but let me tell you my story. And here's what happens. When you tell somebody your story, your identity, who you are, the decisions that you've made along the way, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what you learned to overcome that, when you give that person advice, they actually take it. You see, if I talk at you like a professor or like I know everything, we don't relate. But when I talk to you like a friend, like somebody who cares about your success, and I explain the mistakes I've made and what I've learned and how I overcame that, hey, that makes you real. And when you're trustworthy because you have the right input, right? You see, trust is nothing more than a byproduct of integrity. When you have the right kind of person, the right input, that means you're a person of integrity. And then when you relate and you're transparent, you create trust. And with trust, people will actually apply what you recommend. So that's the key. You've got to have identity with your people. Now, the next steps here, 3, 4, and 5 in this influence formula are will, skill, and refill. So as you grow your team, right, you're the leader and you're influencing your team. You identify with them, right? You tell them your story. And then you say you need to work on your will and your skill and your refill every day. Every time Dad spoke in a big audience, he always said that. He said, the will is simple. It's your heart, it's your desire, it's your passion, it's your want to. You've got to work on your will every single day. You've got to get motivated. You've got to put the right stuff in. Sound familiar? Input. And then after you have the right attitude, you've got to work on your skill every single day. You've got to understand as a professional what it takes to go to the next level. Any skill that you want to work on takes effort and energy to perfect that. And every single day, even if it's just for a little bit of time, if you're working on your will and your skill, that means you're making progress. And what does that refill mean? It means simply that you're repeating that process. So as a leader with influence, when you're pouring into your team, You want to give them hope. You want them to identify with you, meaning you share your heart. You're transparent with the mistakes you've made, the good decisions you've made. And when they come to you asking for help on how to accomplish something, and they trust you because they've seen the real you, they're more likely to follow through. And then you give them that encouragement. Hey, you got to work on your will and your skill every day. Refill those two things, and life will be good. Okay, so now we're going to the next one. You've got the input down. You've got influence, right? The third piece of the Ziglar Leadership Formula is the dream. What do I mean by a dream? Oh my goodness, I love this. The number one leadership challenge that's facing us right now is the lack of engagement. People don't care. Have you noticed that? I mean, so many here are watching, and you're probably watching for your office. So obviously, I'm not talking about where you're working now. I'm talking about that place you used to work, right? That place you left. Did you notice that for some reason people weren't motivated? It's like you walk around and you're just pulling your hair out. You're gnashing your teeth. How do I get somebody excited? How do I get people to care? Well, there's a technical term for this. People who don't care, people who aren't motivated, we call them zombies. Yes, we call them zombies. That's a technical term for people who don't care. So what do I mean by that? Well, you know, a zombie is simply this. I want to identify this. There's a Gallup poll study that shows that literally 70%, give or take a few percentage points based on the year that they do it, 70% of the workforce is disengaged. 70%. What that means is they're like a pinball in a pinball machine, right? They're just wandering through life. They get a job because it's the only thing available. They come out of school or they leave a situation and they couldn't get their dream job, so they just took any job that they could. They are treated like a number when they walk in, or they feel like that. They don't participate. They keep their head down. They show up barely on time. They leave as soon as they can. When they go to meetings, they've got their head down. They're not participating, right? They're just going through life. That's what a zombie is. So what do we do about zombies? Well, a Gallup, like I said, a Gallup poll said that 70% of them are disengaged. And I love this. This is a great example. Imagine in your business right now, let's say you have 10 people on your team. Right there is a bike, and there's 3 people on that bike pedaling like crazy. That represents the 3 people on your team who are engaged. Okay? Now look at this one. This represents the zombies on the bike, right? So if you got 10 people on your team and your organization is average, 3 of them are pedaling like crazy, and then 5 of them are what we call disengaged, that zombie that I explained, and then 18% are actively disengaged. In other words, they're the zombies who are contagious. They're sitting in the back of the room, and you as the leader, you say to the team, hey, we're going to do this. And that disengaged person in the back who's actively disengaged, they whisper to the person next to him, oh, that'll never work. You know what I'm talking about? Have you ever been in that meeting? Have you ever held that meeting? Hey, I've got a confession to make. I have been a zombie myself at certain times in my life. And I think if we're all honest with ourselves, all of us have been in the zombie category every now and then. So we've got this issue, right? We've got this huge challenge, this lack of motivation, these people who are just wandering through life. They don't fit, they don't understand how what they do can take them to the next level. So what do? Why don't zombies care? It's because they have no dreams. Why don't zombies care? It's because they have no dreams. Oh, this is powerful. So wait a second. If I want to get somebody motivated, I got to give them something to care about. And the reason they don't care is they don't have a dream. Okay, so how do we get them to that dream stage? It's called dream alignment. That's the answer. You've got to discover their dreams and align them to yours. So let's just park here for just a second. What does dream alignment really mean? Well, I'm just going to give you an example. Suppose you have somebody on your team and you're the right kind of person, right? You have the right kind of input. You're leading by example. You're optimistic in your outlook, and you've got influence, right? You're creating hope, and you identify with them. You're being transparent, and you can tell that there's people in the room. They're still not, they're not engaged yet, but they also haven't turned you off, right? They're just looking for that reason. This is where the dream comes in. So I'm just kind of role playing. I want you to do a mental role play right here. So you've got somebody on your team, and I'm just going to make it simple. Let's just say they're 30 years old, and they're in the workforce for a while, and they're a little bit disillusioned. All these stuff is going on in the global politics, and they went to college for this, or maybe they didn't, but this wasn't exactly what their first choice was, and so they're working there, and they're just trying to figure out what they're going to do with their life. And so you sit down with them, and you say, Andy, tell me something. You've been here now for a few months, and I really feel like you've got the skills to make something happen here. Tell me what your dream is. A lot of times they'll say, what? Because they've never been asked that. Isn't that a shame that we rub elbows with people every day in the workforce and we don't know what their dream is? I mean, what's up with that? I mean, don't we want to have fun at work? And so you're the right kind of leader. So you say, tell me what your dream is. Now, when you start this conversation, some people are pretty closed off, right? Because that's kind of a personal question. And you're like, no, come tell me your dream. And so sometimes they'll start small. And they may say something like, well, I sure am grateful to be working here, but, I've got a lot of stuff going on at home. Well, tell me, Andy, what do you mean? He says, well, I'm engaged, and I want to get married, and I've got this debt, and I would love to move my fiance in once we get married into a house. But I've got some debt to pay off, and we're getting married in a year. Oh, really? Okay, well, that sounds like a good dream. I mean, everybody should be debt-free when they get married and have a place to live. So what's your plan? Well, what do you mean? Well, do you have a budget? How many young people don't even know what a budget is? How many adults? How many people who've been out there a while don't even know what a budget is? Well, no, I'm not sure what you mean. Well, let me introduce you to my friend, Dave Ramsey, because if your goal is to be debt-free in a year, I think I can help you. But I'm not going to help you by giving you money. I'm going to help you by giving you a plan. Have you ever done a budget? No, I haven't. Well, if I walked with you on this process of doing a budget, would you do it? Because I think that if we could improve how you handle the money you have, and I can focus more work towards you, so that as you're successful, we give you more work, more responsibility, more opportunity, I think we can help you get your dream. What happens to Andy at that point? His mindset changes from, oh, this is a place I have to work because it's the only thing I could get, to, hey, wait a second. The boss is on my team. He wants to help me get my dream. You see that mind share shift? And then comes the most powerful point of this. When that dream aligns, you see, here's the thing that I've realized. Every dream takes time and money to achieve, right? If you want a lake house, or you want to retire and have plenty of security, if you want to provide college education to your grandkids, if you want to fund a nonprofit or a charity, if you want to spend 6 weeks traveling around the world in the nicest places, those things take time and money, don't they? So the reality is, the better you do in your job, right? What happens when you do better in your job? Let's just think about it. When you perform at a higher level in your job, over time, you're either going to get paid more right where you are, or somebody's going to hire you away because they see the talent that you have, because you're killing it. So the reality is, the faster, the better that you do in your job, the better that you perform, the faster you're going to get your dream. Because in the case of this being debt-free before you get married so you can get a house, if I perform at a higher level, I get more overtime, more bonuses, more commission, I get a promotion, that is all pay increase. And in the meantime, I learn how to budget and prioritize what I'm doing. That means my outgo is going to be managed. It's going to be less. I'm not going to be letting the impulses of the moment steal my dream, right? Like Dad said, most people, the number one reason they don't achieve the success they should is because they trade what they want most for what they want now. But when you teach your people how to dream, and then you put a plan on how to get to that dream, and then they perform at that higher level, then they get rewarded for that performance. A pay increase, a promotion, higher commission. So you see, we're all going to go through life. The question is, are we going to be working for a dream or a paycheck while we do it? Okay, what's the next piece of this puzzle? Well, from a dream, we go to performance. So just to recap this page, I've got the right kind of input as a leader. I'm building myself. I'm leading by example, influencing others. I've got this strategy. I'm going to work on building hope in my team, I'm going to identify with them. I'm going to focus on the will and the skill. And then with my team members, I'm going to work individually with them to find out each person's dream, because we know this, everybody has a different dream. Some people want to be debt-free. Some people want to run the world. Now your people have a dream. Now is where the rubber meets the road, and that's where we get to performance. You see, because if I have a dream and I want to achieve that sooner rather than later, something's got to give. And usually what that give is my commitment and dedication to performance. Well, let me share with you a simple formula on performance. Isn't it interesting that the leadership formula is just a circle that impacts and coordinates with other formulas? So let's talk about the performance formula. The Ziglar performance formula is real simple. It's A times E times S equals P. What that means is attitude times effort times skill equals performance. Now I'm going to go quick. I can spend a whole day on this, but in the next 6 or 7 minutes we're going to cover the whole thing. So what is attitude times effort times skill equal performance? Well, I've broken it down into a mathematical equation. So here's the first example. If somebody brand new walks into the job, right? They're scared, they're nervous. Remember your first day on the job? You're scared, you're nervous, you don't know what to do. You haven't been trained on doing anything, and they haven't given you work to do. Well, your attitude is what I call a 1. Your effort, which means the work that you're doing, is a 1. And your skill is a 1. 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1. So your performance level is a 1 on the first day. Now, because they're going to come work for you, you're the leader, right? You're the owner, you're the person making the decision. You've hired them in. You're going to interview this person. You're going to make sure they're the right person. When they walk in the door, it goes to level 2 of this performance formula. Because when they walk in the door, you're going to say, Andy, oh my gosh, you are perfect for this organization. We've been waiting our whole life for you to work here. We did the profile. We did the interviews. We checked your resume. Your skill set is ideal. You see, Andy walks in, he's nervous, but immediately the boss, the manager, the leader gives him a pep talk, right? And their attitude goes to a 2. So as you can see, 2 times 1 times 1 equals 2. The output has doubled simply because of the attitude. You know what I mean. I call this person elevator dangerous. Imagine this. Andy gets on an elevator now. He's just been given the best first day talk in the history of first day talks at a company. He gets on the elevator grinning so wide like this, just grinning, just ear to ear, right, cheek to cheek like that. Somebody says, Andy, why are you so excited? He says, I work at the best company ever, right, first day. And they say, what do you do? He says, I have no idea. See what I mean? How attitude is contagious? So in my performance formula, I got to work on the attitude. Well, what do we say about this? The right attitude very rarely leads to the wrong action. And your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. So what's the next step in this? Well, the next day you come into work, right, and you're working away, and the manager, the leader says, let me give you some work to do. This is effort. So I'm still new on the job, and my job, the work they give me to do might be as simple as making phone calls to follow up on products or that were delivered via mail, and I just want to make sure that the client got it. Well, that's a skill I brought to it. So when you look at that formula, when I make those 50 calls, those 100 calls, I'm putting effort into the job. 2 times 2 times 1 equals 4. 2 times 2 times 1 equals 4. You see how the performance has doubled again when I combine attitude with my effort? So what do we mean here? Far too many people have no idea what they can do because all they've been told is what they can't do. A great leader assumes that their people can do the job. So when you ask somebody to do something, you do it in an affirmative, positive way, and you give them that activity to go and do. And when they do that, their effort goes up. Plus, we know this, you don't build a business, you build people. And then people build the business. Oh my gosh, what a simple idea for a leader. If you want your business to go through the roof, you build your people. And this performance formula is a great blueprint on how you do that. So now we get to the third level. You see, I'm brand new to the job. I'm in there, and my attitude is good because my boss has, motivated me. They've given me some work. But I come in on the third day, and they start training me on a certain skill. Maybe I need to have technical information. Maybe I need to know how to do a specific process. Maybe I need to know how to run a piece of equipment. Whatever that is, whatever the job is, I get training on the skill. And when I see this in the formula, what that means is my skill level has gone from a 1 to a 2. So once again, this is what happens. 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. You see how it's a combination of attitude, effort, and skill? My attitude is the 2, my effort's the 2, my skill's the 2. So what does this mean? It means you must be willing to do something you've never done before to get where you've never been before. We go into new environments, you know, we're learning something new and we get scared, we don't want to try it. But if we're going to go to the next level, we have to grow to the next level. So leaders are fantastic at building the attitude, the effort, and in the skill, they teach people how to do new things. As an individual, if I want to set out to be a top performer, if I want to understand this performance formula, I need to be working on my attitude, my effort, and my skill every day. Dad said this, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly until you can learn to do it well. Doesn't that take the pressure off? You see, there's always new things that I've got to learn, things that I don't know how to do. But if I know it's important to do and the payoff is going to be big, it's okay to struggle in the beginning. A great leader knows that. In fact, great leaders encourage struggle. They encourage people to keep at it, keep trying until you get it. When you think of every gold medal winner in the Olympics, every soccer player, every golfer out there who's won a tournament, every athlete at any level, every musician at any level of acclaim, they've all had to go through and learn the chords, learn the plays, learn the discipline to get there. They didn't do it perfect the first time. Same thing with leadership. You see, when you have the right input, the right influence, you create a dream, and now you're working on the performance of your team, then anything is possible. But there's another level. And here's the key level that I want to show you. There's actually a person out there that we call a 3 person. You see, the attitude, effort, and skill until this point, it was all determined by the leader's impact on the individual. And this is where we transfer, as a leader, we've got to transfer ownership of performance from ourselves to our people, right? Because if we're constantly the source of inspiration, the source of why you need to do it, it's not going to work. It's not going to be fun. But here's what happens. When you understand ownership, in other words, if I understand clearly and completely that my attitude is my own responsibility, it's not the weather, it's not the boss, it's not the person in the car next to me honking. I own my attitude is a choice. That allows me to move from a 2 to a 3. And on the effort, hey, if I own my own effort, like, you know, if I'm going to take effort to the next level, it doesn't have to do with how much work the boss gave me. I'm constantly going to be looking for new things to do, more efficient and more effective. For example, calling the East Coast in the morning and the West Coast in the afternoon. If I'm constantly upping my game on effort, I'm going out and talking to other people who are the top 5% in my industry and how they perform, then I own my effort. I'm able to go to a 3. And then on the skill, oh my goodness. You see, my company provides great training and there's knowledgeable people inside. But if I go out on my own and I go online to get training, if I read the right kind of books on my own, as a leader, if I understand that my leadership capacity isn't dependent upon what the company provides, but what I go and get for myself, then I move my skill level in leadership from a 2 to a 3. Now here's what's cool. When you look at the formula, look at this. 3 times 3 times 3 equals 27. Isn't that amazing? But the only way to go from 2 to 3 is you got to own it. Your effort, your attitude, your skill, it isn't dependent upon anybody around you, the circumstances, or anything else. It's a choice that you've got to make. If you've ever wondered why the top 5% in any industry will out-earn 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times to 1 the average in the industry, it's this simple idea. They own their attitude, their effort, and their skill. They are 3s in each one of those. Now look at this. 27 is your performance potential when you are motivated by a big why, and you take responsibility for owning your own attitude, effort, and skill. That's why in the Ziglar performance formula, that's why we start off with input and then influence and then dream, because what's the dream? It's the why. If your people don't know the why they're working so hard, they can't motivate themselves to stay there. But when I go to work for a dream instead of a paycheck, then I want to be a 3 in each one of these areas. That is powerful. It takes a dream to be a 3. Bottom line, it takes a dream to be a 3. The sequence is absolutely key. Let's talk about the sequence for a second. Look at this formula. A times E times S equals P. It's simple, right? You got them. Everybody can do the math I just shared. But I want you to notice the sequence that we went through it. We started with attitude. You see, in the right environment, we're developing our people. The first thing that we're concerned with is their attitude, their want to, their desire, right? Because when the attitude is right, it drives everything else. You see, if I've got an engaged, motivated attitude, I believe I can get something done, I have hope that things are going to be better because I'm going to do things better, then my effort is going to respond to that. My effort is naturally going to go up. And when I'm working hard with the right attitude and I look around and I see other people doing better than I am, I realize, wait a second, it's because they have more experience, they have more skill, they have more know-how. I want my skill level to go up. The right attitude drives effort and skill. But what happens in the world that we go in today? You get hired, right? You go into the normal place and you go through all the interviews and they do the profiles and you come on your 2 weeks on boarding or 1 week or 1 day or whatever your industry is, and the first thing they work on is your skill. This is how you put this peg in this hole and this peg in this hole, right? It's skill, 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 skill. Learn the manual, learn the procedure, learn the policy. Here's how you do this. I'm not saying skill's not important. I'm just saying we got to do it in the right sequence. Now you've got the skill mastered. What do they work on now? How much can you do? How much can you do? How much can you do? It's effort. And then lo and behold, the attitude starts to sag down and you get called in for an attitude meeting. Isn't that backwards? Shouldn't we get the attitude right first so that the effort and skill will naturally follow? The sequence is absolutely key. And here's the last piece of it. A negative attitude changes the entire result. A negative attitude changes the entire result. What do I mean by that? I know you've never worked in a place with a negative attitude, right? Of course we have. We all have. We've even known we have a negative attitude for about 5 minutes around Ziglar every now and then. We've all been exposed to that. But how do you quantify the impact on productivity when somebody in the group has a negative attitude? Let me show you what it looks like. In the formula, when you take an integer and you make it negative, it makes the result of that formula, the product of that formula, negative. So in the example that we have here, -2 times 2 times 2 equals -8. So for your managers, your leaders, your owners who are looking at this, when you have somebody who's negative in the team, and some of you might need to look in the mirror, right? Because as a leader, I've been negative before. When you have somebody who's negative on the team, the studies actually show it is more cost effective, meaning profits will go up if you pay that negative person to stay at home and not talk to any teammates, any customers, or any prospects. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Why don't we all do that? Why don't we send everybody home and have them not talk to anybody, right? Productivity will go up, profits will go up. Well, it's crazy. Why do I say it this way, kind of tongue-in-cheek? This is how serious, this is how important attitude is. Because if we get our attitude positive, we have the ability to change everything. But here's the scary part. Let's say that you have a long-term person on your team. They've got a lot of inside knowledge. They know where the skeletons are. They know how to work all the equipment. They know where the secrets are. They've got, enterprise information locked up in their head. They know the history of what's going on, and they have a negative attitude. Oh my goodness. Their impact is far greater in a negative way than somebody who's new who comes on with a negative attitude. They're doing more damage than you can imagine. So let's look at this again. The Ziglar Performance Formula is your ticket. Simple, powerful, repeatable, and trackable. What do I mean by that? You can literally take this formula, and I encourage you to do this. You can go to the whiteboard in your organization right now, and you can have a little team meeting, and you can have the team decide if A times E times S equals P, if that makes sense, right? You can do the math. Now, how is it powerful, repeatable, and trackable? We know it's simple. Well, it's easy. When somebody walks in front of you on your team and you ask yourself, are you doing a good job? This is like that internal thought process that you go through. All you got to look at them is saying, well, do they have the right attitude? Is it contagious? Is it elevator contagious? Their effort, right? Are they waiting around for work to be given to them? Or are they out there seeking work, going to the next level? And their skill. Are they, an average here, or are they always seeking to learn more? For those of you who have people on your team who you manage, what would happen if somebody on your team came to you and just said something simply like this? Hey, I love working here. I want to be the best I can be. There's a program that I want to go to that's going to help me in my job role. And I tell you what, I don't mind. It's out of the office. It's a day. It's downtown. If I go there on my own and pay my own way, will you give me time off to go do it? Because I want to be the best I can be here. How many of you have ever had that question asked to you? What would happen if all the people on your team were constantly asking you that question? Wouldn't you want to invest more in them? Why are they doing it? Because of dream alignment. You see, when they understand that they work for a dream instead of a paycheck, and when you as a leader make this connection, I'm going to show you the connection right here. You see, your company has dreams, right? We call them goals. When an individual on the team has their own dream, and you align the dream that they have so that the better they do in their job allows them to be successful, but the only way that's going to happen is if the company is successful. So imagine everybody on your team, they have their own dream, and all those dreams are in alignment with the organization's dreams. So just to recap the formula, here it is. We got to be the right kind of person, and we become the right kind of leader with the right kind of input. Then we use our influence in a formula: hope, identity, will, skill, and refill, because we want to impact people to take action. And then we want them to take action for our benefit and their benefit, which is simply, if they go to work trying to achieve their dream and what they do is in alignment with the company's goals, you've got a home run. And then when they understand that performance is about ownership, they've got to own their attitude, their effort, and their skill. Man, they're going to go to the next level. I tell you what, we've got time for some questions. I'm going to look over here on my laptop to see what the questions are. If you still have questions, go ahead and send them in, and then I'm going to finish up with just a few more things at the end. We've got a video I want to share with you, and I also want to tell you about something that we're going to do that we've never done before on a webcast, so you might just want to stick around for that. Let's see here. Let's see. Jonathan asked, how do we lead and motivate well if the work is simple, such as janitor or generic baker in a small store, without appearing manipulative and have nice words? I tell you what, I'm going to go right back to the dream there, Jonathan. I have never met anybody in the world who, if they believed they could, wouldn't want to go for a dream. In fact, the more simple the work, or the more somebody feels like the world has conspired against them, or they don't have much capacity for growth, when somebody takes a personal interest in them, what's your dream? For them, it might be a 2-day vacation, right? Maybe they've never been out of town. Maybe they are just struggling to get by. If you can ask them what it is in your life that you want to achieve, and maybe it's just paying the rent, and you say, I want to help you, I want to support you, and you start working on them with simple things like their budget and their goals, and what is it? When they start raising their hand and saying, yeah, tell me more, then guess what? They're going to work harder. And when they work harder, as a good boss or a friend and a leader, you've got a responsibility then to them, reward them for that and help them grow into the next position. If you see somebody working on their own attitude, effort, and skill, which ups their performance, you've got somebody who can help build your organization to where you want it to go. Okay, let's see. Chance asks, how do you get someone interested in their own growth as a leader? I understand they have to want to and seek out the answers for themselves first. But if you are in a situation where a person is lost and you're trying to get their attention to show them, if they increase their ability as a leader, things will get better because they end up being better. What are some suggestions on how to have someone see the light and want to invest in themselves? Well, there's a couple of issues here. One of our good friends, I've already mentioned his name, Dave Ramsey, he says this. He says, I don't motivate people. I hire motivated people. Okay? So what's the difference in that? See, as a leader, our responsibility isn't to motivate somebody. That's got to come from within. But as a leader, we've got to draw out the potential that somebody has. And what we want to have happen is for their dream to be the reason that they're motivated. It's called growth motivation. I want to grow to the dream. If I want to go to the next level, I've got to grow to the next level. So when you're sitting down with a leader, for example, and you're trying to help them develop their skills as a leader, you simply ask them, what's your dream? What are you hoping to accomplish? Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes people don't want to go to the next level, right? They're perfectly happy with where they are. It doesn't mean when I'm saying the next level, they may not want to be a leader. They may not want to go into upper management or leadership or own their own business. That's totally fine. But everybody should have something, a dream that they're living for that they want to go out and get. They just don't know how to get it. And so what you've got to do at Ziglar, we teach a goal setting system. It's one of the things that we teach. And so when somebody identifies something they would like to achieve, maybe we don't want to call it a dream, maybe we just call it a goal. And it's that vacation I was talking about earlier, or getting out of debt, or a new car, or whatever it is. If you walk them through the goal setting steps on identifying what it is, the obstacles you've got to overcome, the benefits of having it, the action steps that you've got to take, those are just a few of the steps. When you identify it and you get into that action plan of what have you got to do, well, if somebody needs to make more income in order to achieve their dream, the action steps have to be, I need to be the person who has the skill set to earn that new position, right? And so that should be growth motivation on the leadership designed around what they want to achieve. Now, you can do this and you can pour into them and you can pour into them, and some people are still not going to be listening to that. That's where you've got to make the decision. Are they a win for the company right where they are because their attitude, effort, and skill is good at that level? And if it is, that's okay. But if they are holding people up, if they don't fit in, then they're going to have to be given realistic options like, hey, we need you to advance, or we need to find the right fit for you somewhere else. Some people are just in the wrong place. I can't tell you how many times conversations like this have happened, and the challenge was right person, wrong place. So when we help somebody move to the right place, even if it's another organization, it's a win-win. Next question. Kevin asks, a manager holds a position of authority but may not be an effective leader. There may be effective leaders that don't hold a position of authority. How can a leader influence the manager to develop more effective leadership skills without undermining his authority? Oh, that's a great question. I believe you can lead from anywhere in the room. And what managers want and what they need is help, right? That's what they want. Now, here's the reality. There's another study that's out there. 35% of the population would rather see their manager fired than to get a significant raise. Isn't that incredible? So let's just put this in real world. Let's say you make $15 an hour and the raise is up to $20 an hour. That's a lot of money, isn't it? 35% in that category would rather have their manager fired than get the raise. That's crazy. Why is that? Well, it's simple. People are smart. And this is the way people look up to their manager. So if you're a manager, if you're a leader, just remember, put this in your piggy bank, right? I mean, this is important. People on your team look at you and they're making this decision every day. Is that person helping me go to the next level, or are they holding me down? If they're holding you down, guess what? They want you fired. So as a leader, we've got to take ownership that we've got to raise our people up to the next level, whatever that means in your organization. So when you're working with a manager who's hesitant to grow or whatever, that's a clarifying question. You see, Dad said this, if you're irreplaceable, you're unpromotable. Some people believe that if they help grow their team, they'll work themselves out of a job. The reality is exactly the opposite. Unless you replace yourself regularly with people maybe even more qualified than you at the position you're in, you'll never be promoted. Great leaders understand the fastest way to get promoted internally or externally is to develop leaders underneath them. So we need to know what the manager's goal is. Are they happy where they are? Are they fearful that people are going to replace them? Or do they realize that the ticket to the next level is how they develop their people? So until I know that manager's goal, what do they want to do? Are they happy in that position? They don't like change, or do they want to go to the next level? It's hard to do that. And you might just share with them your own goal. Hey, you're on a quest. You're a lifelong learner. You want to go to the next level. Ask them as a manager, what can you do to be better? And then have a dialogue, and then start maybe asking them, well, I heard this is good. What do you think? I heard this is good. What do you think? And you don't worry about anything other than your own performance at that time. You have control of your attitude, your effort, and your skill, and you're trying to get a grasp for what your manager wants. Only time will tell. I wish you could make somebody make that positive choice to grow, but you can't. It's got to come from within. So if you can manage up, you can lead up, you can find out what your leader's dream is in this case. Let's see. How do I help other leaders under me feel and act like leaders? Oh my gosh. Man, that's a hard one even for me internally. How do I feel and act like a leader? Well, one of the things is it's got to be repetition, repetition, repetition. People in organizations that win today with all the input that we get, whether it's social media or news or internet or whatever, all the different projects we have going on, we need to be messaged literally every single day that, hey, this is the company objective, this is the company mission, this is our goal, this is our project, this is what we stand for, here are our core values, here are the values that the people here hold true, here's the creed that our leadership team lives by, here's the things that are valuable to us. A leader has to repeat that over and over and over again. People are not mind readers, right? If somebody is in a leadership style kind of like I am, which is very quiet and kind of reserved when I'm out with my team, if I don't behave outwardly like a leader should, right? Like taking control of the meeting or pointing out great behavior, pulling negative behavior aside and dealing with it one-on-one, if I don't demonstrate that behavior, people on my team are not going to see that, and they're not going to feel it from me, because feeling that other people get is a result of the behavior they see the leader having. So you want your leaders to exhibit behavior that creates the feeling. And you have to plan for that. If you're not naturally that way, you have to I have to set my mind, hey, I'm going to have energy when I go into this meeting, and I'm going to get excited about this point. Now, my level of excitement is different than other people. I mean, for me, I feel like I'm going to here, but everybody else says it's only here, but they love it because they're used to me being right here. So you've got to understand what are the core values of your group, and then you've got to demonstrate that behavior so they know that that's a core value. And when you do the behavior, the feeling comes after that. It's hard to create a feeling before behavior. Last question here. How do you differentiate between a dream and a fantasy? That's a good question. Well, I'm going to share this quote. Dad had this quote. He said, well, let me see. Napoleon Hill actually had this quote. He said, if your mind can achieve it and you believe it, you can achieve it. Conceive, believe, achieve, right? We have a different take on that quote because really if Shaquille O'Neal said that he could ride in the Kentucky Derby as a jockey, that's a fantasy because the horse would never win, right? He's too big. He's not equipped to be a jockey. And so that's a fantasy in that position. So what we say is until you can conceive it and believe it, there's no chance of achieving it, right? So it's true the conceive and the believe have to come first, but then it's around reality. I heard an example. If you look at what you do in life, you need to grab onto it with both hands, both arms, right? You're putting this is what I do, man, this is my dream, this is what I'm going for. And in one hand, it's got to be your passion, your desire, your want to, right? It's your motivation, this is my purpose, this is everything else. And on the other hand, it's your skill, it's your talent, it's your gifts, it's what you're good at. Because if you grab something with just your talent and your gifts, right, man, you're going to burn out. You can't hold that thing for very long, that work that you're doing if there's no passion behind it. Or the work, it's just as dangerous as that is you grab something with your passion, but you have no skill in it, right? You have no capability. You just want to do that, right? You're like Shaquille O'Neal trying to ride a racehorse in the Kentucky Derby. It may be your passion, but you're just not equipped for it. So what we've got to do in determining a dream from a fantasy is we've got to analyze what's my passion, what's my desire, what's my goal, and then what are the skills that I have, and how can I put both of those around something. So when somebody says, you know what, I want to make $100 million, is that a dream or a fantasy? Well, it all depends on how you start. Is it reasonable to say somebody could jump from $30,000 in income to 50? And don't you have to get to 50 before you get to 100 million? Absolutely. So what you do is you encourage them to break down that huge fantasy into steps, which we call, smaller goals that you achieve along the way. And then you identify the skill sets that you need in order to achieve the next level over and over again. So when you approach it that way in a systematic process, you may not get the 100 million overnight, but you're going to be far, far better than if you give up because, that's just a fantasy. Because what you learn along the journey is more important than anything else. Well, guys, we have been here for an hour. Sorry I couldn't get to all the questions. We would love for you to send those questions in via email. So here's the thing that we're going to do as we wrap up that we haven't done before. We're going to be sending you an email, and in that email, there's going to be a link to the replay. There's going to be information in our other courses. But for the first time, we're going to offer this PowerPoint deck. So if you want this PowerPoint deck and you want it to be sent to you and you can do a presentation with it, that's fine. We just ask that you share it internally because we want to equip you to go to the next level. We are very interested in working with organizations, businesses, companies that want to really put a leadership strategy in play, and not one that's that is so mechanical, that is so academic that it's hard for people to understand, but a simple one like this based on influence, dream, and performance that you can walk out every day. And how do we do this? Again, I started off the webcast this way, but if you look here, we have courses right here called the Ziglar Leadership Success Course. That's a half-day program that we have in Dallas. If you look at that slide right now, that's the first one. And then we have 2 more programs that we bring in-house. I'm a speaker. I come out to your organization and I speak. We have other people on our team who do it. Once again, that's the Top Performance course that we bring in. That's a full day. And then we have the Dynamic Leadership Success Program, Significance Through Dynamic Leadership. That's more philosophy. That's more, we have great discussions in there. And then, of course, our Ziglar Legacy Certified. If you have the heart of a teacher, if you want to impact your community, if you want to help people achieve to become the right kind of person so they can have influence, so that they can develop the dream and then go out there and achieve a level of performance they never thought possible, then you might want to consider Ziglar Legacy Certification. And in fact, we're going to close off this webcast. We're going to play a short video on Ziglar Legacy. And if you want to see a little bit more about that, just stay tuned. I want to thank everybody for attending. You guys are awesome. It's been a wonderful blessing to have you here. Please, as you get this information, share it with others who could benefit. After all, the best way for us to carry on the Ziglar legacy is through you who've been impacted by it already. Share it with your friends. I'm Tom Ziglar, proud son of Zig Ziglar. I look forward to seeing you again right here at the Ziglar Studios on our next webcast. Is there a voice in the back of your head saying you were meant for more? You were meant to inspire others to achieve all the good things that life has to offer? Maybe you've been through a trial of your own. You've overcome obstacles, and people in your organization or in your community call upon you to help and encourage others to be, do, and have more. One of our recent Ziglar Legacy Certified instructors who came through upon graduation, they immediately increased their business because of the affiliation with our brand and because of the tools that we equip them with. I want to encourage you to seriously consider our certification program. Listen right now to a few of our certified trainers and hear what they had to say.
He says, this has always been your dream. You've always wanted to be a part of training the same things that Zig does, and this will give you the actual right to do it. And so after praying about it, we said, yeah, let's go for it, and it was the best decision we ever made.
Well, the biggest thing is the brand. You do not have a household name more trustworthy than Zig Ziglar.
I'm a professional trainer and I've gone through tons of training. I had no idea that this training was going to touch my soul, touch my heart, challenge and affect my faith.
And now my life is really sort of broken up into 2 time periods, BZ and AZ, before Ziglar certification and after Ziglar certification.
Any leader, anybody in an industry, in a business can be very busy, but it's going from being busy to being effective. And that's really what the keys that I was being able to be given here.
Like a dollar figure? It's impossible to put a dollar figure on it. It's impossible, it's infinity. I mean,
we just use the philosophy with our coaching members day in and day out. And so it's helped not only me, but our entire membership.
Every time I watch testimonials from our Ziglar Legacy Certified trainers, I get excited. Why is that? Because I know that they're fulfilling their dream. They're out there helping others, whether they're individuals or corporations, achieve more of the good things that life has to offer. They're walking out their dream by speaking and training, and the Ziglar affiliation helps them in the marketing of that. I sure hope you join us. Learn more about our program. Register for our free informational webcast right here. And don't forget, you're going to get our free report on the 7 keys to picking a keynote speaker. Great information on how you can more effectively market yourself. I look forward to seeing you on the next webcast, and hopefully I get to meet you right here at Ziglar headquarters during our next certification course.